Images plays a very crucial role in accessibility, in performance, in responsiveness of a website. Very important, right? Way more than anything else. And using images is not just using a source attribute or an alt attribute. It's way more than this. You have to take into consideration lots of things like, for example, the device pixel ratio of your device, right? If you are working on a retina display like I am doing right now, you know, it has a 2x DPR, right? If you are using a normal Windows low end or medium end laptop, it's 1 DPR, right? So there are lots of variables that you need to consider. And the way you use developer tools is also slightly advanced here. Hopefully, by the end of this lesson, I'll be able to make you industry ready and make you very, very comfortable to answer any questions related to using images in your web page and also using them in your next big project. So yeah, let's get started from the absolute basics. Before anything else, you will need lots of different kind of images to be able to explore them, use them. So along with the source code, I have included lots of images, and you can see I have written their dimensions and everything here so that we can play around with them. So these are the images that I have included. Another excellent way of working with images is one is via placeholder.com. Then you can type in any size, for example 400. So you will be having 400 by 400 image. Slightly better alternate would be placeholder.co. So what you can do is you can define the size here. So I need 600 by 400 image. I need background to be gold. I need foreground or font color to be black. So here I have this nice image, right, with gold background, black foreground color. And it also takes care of, suppose I need 2x image. It's nothing but the double size. Just think of it like that. So if I write @2x here and press enter, so you see the image is now double, right? So if I just remove, just observe what happens. If I remove at 2x, so it's 600 by 400, the actual 1 DPR, image. But if I want to make it double, for example, I have a retina display, right? It can the density of pixels that it supports is very high. It's double, right? So in that case, I might need a 2x image, right? Think of it as image of double size, so that when you squeeze it into 600 by 400, it's very crisp, clear, and very sharp, right? So I can do that. So placehold.co is also a great option here. So let's try it out. Let's start with this particular image. And if we go to the HTML, all you need to do is, I'll just minimize the Explorer, and I have a nice image tag. The source is going to be the placeholder image that we just saw, and the alt would be any text, for example golden background image with black text, whatever. And if I save it, you see that we have our nice image, right? So basically, image tag, we have supplied it the source attribute, the source of the image, and an alt text. Why is this alt text important? So for any reason, for example, we are not able to load the image, right? So this is somehow being very helpful and trying to help us out. So if I make some mistake and I'm not able to load the image, then at least there will be a nice user-friendly text that our users would be able to see. I'll just expand it for a moment, so you can see that whatever text was here, you are able to see here, and of course there is a typo here as well, right? So this is the importance of alt text. Also, someone who can see the image, they can definitely see the image visually. That's not a problem. But someone who is consuming your website or web page using a screen reader or any other assistive technology, for them again, it will read out this alt text. This will be which is going to be like very useful for them for the accessibility purposes, right? Background image. As I think of accessibility, it makes sense to keep them as nice and descriptive as possible. Cool. So just by this description, the user who cannot see this image should get an idea what this image is all about, right? Now let's take one of the images that I've included here. So banner 960.jpg. So I can use banner 960.jpg. So you can see that I have a nice banner here. Okay. And also I have an option to include the 2x size. So if I do that, so I see that I have a, image which is double the size, we can say that. So it's 2x of 960 by 315. That is its actual, pixel is 1920 by 630. Cool. So it has a lot of pixels in it, and when it will be displayed in a confined size, it will look very crisp, sharp, and my monitor happens to support it. Another attribute or property that you can define is width and height. So if I define just the width to be 100%, so the height would be auto, right? So it takes the 100% of the width which is visible of the parent, and height, because we have not hard coded any height, so it maintains the aspect ratio, right? So this is something we may need to know. So far, so good. Okay. Now let's move to some advanced stuff, right? So for a desktop, so for a wide screen, it makes sense that, I use this 960 pixel image, right? The image that is, and this is just a random size that I've chosen for the example. So for the bigger screen, maybe, 960 pixel is just the right size for me. But when someone is watching the same thing, the exact same website in a mobile, it doesn't really make sense to send them or, overburden them with 960 pixel image. For them, maybe 640 pixel image would be good enough. So we don't want to change any aspect ratio. We don't want to change any sort of croppings, right? All we want is the exact same image, same ratio of the image. But when I am loading it into a screen smaller than 640 pixels, it should load probably a smaller image, banner 640 probably. And when I am watching the same web page in a bigger image, then I would like my browser to load this 960 pixel image. Make sense? Is the use case making sense to all of you? Again, so for developing this, first thing we need to do is, friends, we need to maybe, inspect a new page, a new tab, right? Once you have inspected it, you see this here, the mobile device thing, right? Toggle device toolbar, click that. So I have clicked here. So now I have this responsive view. After this, okay, I need to keep it open. And this is something you will have to do whenever you are dealing with images, especially the responsive images. And we are focusing on the things we can do with plain HTML, right? And most of the things you should do with plain HTML. And here in the dimensions, instead of selecting any one of them, just select responsive. So first thing we did is we inspected the page. We toggled the device toolbar. So we clicked on this particular icon. Then we selected responsive from dimensions. I'll make it a bit smaller here, right? Now friends, you see 3 dots here to the right hand side, right? You see right now we don't have any DPR settings here in the dimensions if you see. But if you click on 3 dots and you add device pixel ratio, if you click here, you'll be able to see DPI here. It's default for me in MacBook Pro, it would be 2. We need to make it to 1. We want it to behave like a 1x monitor for the time being. And let's keep its size to be 600 pixels only. Okay. And now what we want to do, friends, is in any device width which is less than 640 pixels, I want to load this image 640. I'll just go to this tab once. So I want to load this 640 image. I want to load this image which has 640 in it. It's taking the entire width because I have given a width of 100% here. So it looks nice. It is not, we don't have to scroll it too much. And when it's more than the width of the screen is more than 640, that is when we would like to load the 960 image, banner 960.jpg. So how do we do that? So instead of source, we use srcset attribute. Okay, so instead of source, we are using srcset attribute, and in comma separated values, we will provide it both the URLs. So banner 640.jpg and banner 960.jpg, 960.jpg. So we are providing it both the images URL. Okay. And then we need to mention, we need to specify, we need to tell the browser that it is supposed, I'll just type it out and then explain it to you. So I'll put 960 width here. Save it. So basically what we are telling our browser is that for any device with, so literally we are telling browser that the width of this particular image is 640 pixels. The width of this image is 960 pixels. Now you take the decision for us. You take the decision, you make the call. We are not micromanaging much. We are just telling browser that these are the sizes of the image. Now it's up to you, the image that you download to display it to the user. So what browser will normally do is, and every browser behaves in slightly different way, but mostly the same. For any device whose width is 640 or less, right, this image will be downloaded. And for any device whose width is more than 640, this particular image will be downloaded. Okay. Now let's see that in action. So what I'll do is I'll copy this URL, friends. I have a new inspect window. I'm sorry, it's very small, but while dealing with images, we have to deal with all of these things. And I have kept its size to be 600. And I'll paste in here. And you can see that 640 by 210. So this particular image was downloaded by the browser. Beautiful, isn't it? Now let's make it 639 pixels. So 639 pixels. Again, you see, browser seems to be using the exact same image. If I do it 640 pixels, again the same image. But if I do 641 pixels, do you see the image size changed? So as soon as we move to a larger window, our browser was smart enough to know that, it's the larger screen. We have a better image available with us. So why not use them? Is it making sense to all of you, friends? Again, why should we not be micromanaging things, right? Because suppose we are in a larger screen. I'll just refresh it. We are in a larger screen and it has used 960 pixels. It has already downloaded that image. Then if we move to the smaller screen, just think about it. Will it make sense for the browser to again download the smaller image? No, right? Because if an image is looking good in the 960 pixel or wide screen, that same image, you don't need to download it again. It will look good in the smaller screen as well. So if I make it smaller, see, the browser does not download it again. So browsers are smart enough, and we should, so this is the way of thinking here, that we are just giving different images to the browser. We are telling it the width. Now let it take the best decision for us. Is it making sense to you, friends? Now let's take care of the DPR2 images as well. So we have this image 2x as well. So let's include them, friends. So what I'll do is banner 640-2x .jpg, and its width is going to be 640 multiplied by 2. That means 1280, right? So 1280 width. Again, we should not be micromanaging it much. I'm just giving my browser the image, and I let my browser take whatever is best for me, right? I'll do the same thing for 961 as well. So banner 960-2x. This 2x is just the name that I have given to the image, right? So if you'll see here, I have given it these names. It can be any name, right? .jpg. I hope it's not too confusing for you. And if I do 960 multiplied by 2, its width will be 1920 pixels. So 1920 pixels. Okay. And yeah. So now I'll use a width of, say, 960 pixels here. So 960 pixels is the width, and I'll just save it, friends. So it's clear that for a 960 for a screen that is 960 pixels wide and whose DPR is 1, the pixel ratio is 1, it's loading this 960 image with 1x DPR. Now, what happens if I am watching the same? So the width of the device is the same, 960 pixels, or more, but the DPR is 2. See what happens here, right? If I do it 2 and then reload it, see what happened here? So the browser was smart enough to decide that, currently the pixel ratio of my device is very dense, right? It's a retina display, maybe, right? So it makes sense that if I have a 2x image available, the image that is double of the size, I should be showing that would look good in the retina screen. So browser was again smart enough to know that. So friends, this is how the same image tag, the plain old image tag, but with srcset, it becomes so much more responsive. And in responsive as well, we are not changing any ratio. We are not changing, the image drastically, right? The only thing that is changing is the pixel ratio, the resolution of the image, right? So this is very useful. So whenever you don't have to, when you don't have to change the cropping or aspect ratio, but need to load different size of images for different screen size and for different types of screen, different DPRs of the screen. So srcset is the tool for you. These things will make more sense to you once you practice them. I'll change the DPR to 1 and refresh the page. And again, browser is smart enough that if We have 2x image already with us. We really don't need to make another API request and download another image, right? So what we will do now is we will change these images. So we'll use placeholder. I want to demo you one more very real world thing that you can do with srcset, and you might need them in your real world. So I have 600 by 400 pixel image here. Then I might need, let me make it, a square image so that I don't have to worry about the aspects. Then I'll also make it 500 pixels to begin with. Okay. Then I have 800 by 800. I'll just pause the recording and do this to make the video shorter. So friends, you can see that I have a couple of images here. I'll also give them width. So this is 600. I'll tell the browser their width. This is 800. This is 1000. This is 1200. And this is 1400 width. And I'll save it, friends. And now if you see, I'll just refresh the page once. And if I keep increasing it, so right now it's loading in the 500 pixel with wide device, it's loading 600 pixel wala images. In the 800, it will load 800 pixel wala image. And I'll just make it a bit wider, just to demo it to you. And as I keep increasing the width, it keeps on increasing, right? The image keeps on increasing. It goes until 1400. At times we might want, at times for certain components in the page, we might want, friends, that after it reaches 1000, after the device hits 1000, so for any device larger than maybe 1100 pixels, I just want to load images this one, right? I don't want to go as far as 1200 or 1400 pixels, right? So we have this capability in HTML. We can make it, that, and for that we have sizes attribute. Inside of sizes, you can give a min width of say 1100 pixels. So you are telling your browser that for this particular width, the image size should be, the browser should consider, this particular type of an image. So if I do this, so for min width 110 means any device of size minimum 110 until any point, right? Any large. This is the size that we want our browser to consider. Okay. Again, since device has cached, the browser has already cached this particular image. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to inspect again. So this is something you'll have to do often when you are dealing with responsive images. You have to clear the caches every now and then. You have to, open a new inspector every now and then. There are many ways of doing this. I think opening a new tab is a reasonable option. I'll make it 500 to begin with, right? And now we have this particular sizes attribute set as well. So basically when we are moving away from 1100 pixels, we just want the responsiveness of images to stop to, we want our browser to assume that it's 1000 wide. You don't need to move any further than that. So I'll just copy this. I'll close these two tabs for now. So again, browser is smart. We get, I hope it's making sense to all of you. Maybe, watch this again. It's a bit confusing topic. I'll totally agree to that. So now if I move ahead, I'll just make it a bit larger. If I move ahead to, 750 pixels, we see 800 pixel images loaded. If I further move ahead, 1000 pixels and 1200 pixel is loaded. There seems to be some discrepancy. Just give me a minute. Instead of, pausing it and editing it, I'll prefer to debug it along with all of you. So I'll just open a new window just to ensure that the caches are not being used. And I'll just copy it. I'll ensure that it's a smaller screen. And I'll paste in the URL. Okay, so now we have this thing. So we are telling our browser that for devices more than 1100 pixels, 1000 pixels should be what it should be considering. So I think that might be the reason of it not working. Now let's try this out, friends, again. So 500, 800, 1000, 1200. There still seems to be an issue here. I think I got the issue. So what happens is we have put in 1100 pixels here as media query. So when it reaches 1100 pixels, already this size of image is loaded, right? So I think we need to keep it anything less than 1000 if we want to limit it to 1000 pixels. So it should be either 1000 or anything less than that. So if I put 1000 pixel here and save it, now it should 100% work for me. So now what we want is once it reaches 1000 pixels, it should no more load a new image. So now we can see that however large we go, it just stops at 1000. And that is exactly what we needed. So I'll just repeat this last bit again. So here we are telling our browser that for a pixel width of 600 pixels, up to width of 600 pixels, we need this particular image. Then, up to 800 pixel, we need this image. Up to 1000 pixel, we need this image. Up to 1200 pixel, we need it to load this image. Up to 1400 pixels, we need it to load this particular image, right? And here in the sizes media query, we are putting in a condition, we are putting in a restriction that for any time, min width 1000 pixel means anything that is larger than or equal to 1000 pixel, we need to stop to this 1000 pixel here. We need to stop to this 1000 pixel image here. So again, these things will make much more sense once you practice with it. Placeholder.co images are very good to practice with it. In case when you're watching this lesson and this particular service is not available, I have included lots of different images for all of you to play around with it. Remember one thing, that we have put or set DPR to 1.0 so that we are able to play with the images that we need to. The ratio is 1. Another thing that you will often find yourself doing while doing the web development is, for the very wide screen, you have a very different cropping or a very different aspect ratio of an image. For example, in the wide screen above 1200 pixels, I have this 1200 by 300 ka banner, right? So I have a really wide image. For tablets, maybe, I have something a bit shorter, something like 600 by 300 pixel image, which is like significantly different. And for mobile, maybe, we need a square image. Very common use case, you will see it often. that in smaller devices we have a different image altogether, a very different image, not just different density of image, but a different aspect ratio image, a completely different image in the mobile, a completely different image in the tablet, a completely different image at the larger desktops. So how do we do that? For these scenarios, we have picture tag. So instead of image tag, we use picture tag, and we can provide it various sources, right? We can provide it various sources and one fallback source, which is the image tag, which is a default. Okay. So in sources, basically you can give a media query. So here we are saying for minimum width 640. So 640 and above width, pixel width devices, we would like to see this particular image. And for device with 960 pixels or above width, we would like to see a different image. So a picture tag, inside of picture tag, we have source tags, right? So again, for, the same ratio image, almost the same image, but of different sizes, right? So if we are in different type of image, we would like to load, for smaller screen, we would like to load a smaller size image. For a larger retina display, we would like to load a very, high density image. So for that, we have image tag, and inside of that source set. Inside of source set, we can define the width, and browser will take the decision that which is the best image to download. Okay. We can fine tune it using the sizes attribute. So we can tell it that, for the minimum width of 1000 pixels, so anything 1000 and above, just use 1000 pixel wala image. So just use this one image. So this is how we can fine tune it. And picture takes it to another level, the responsiveness to another level. So depending on the media query, we are telling browser to download a completely different image. It can be a totally different image depending on the media query, right? So again, it's very powerful. And if you see here, we have source set. So friends, nothing is stopping us from doing this, from giving it another value using comma. So using comma, we can give it another value. So here we can give maybe it's 1200 wide. And if we use the double size one at 2x1 at 2x image, so here it would be 2400 wide. So I'll just save it, friends. And now if I refresh it, you see that we have 1200 by 300 image here. But now if I do it DPR2 and then refresh it, it will actually be a very high density image, and I can check it by inspecting it. And you can see it here. We should be having a very high density image. Unfortunately, we don't have a very easy way to check which image is loaded here. Maybe there is, and I'm not aware of that. So let's use one of the images that I provided to you, right? And let's see if it works as expected. So here I have this banner 960 and banner 962x. So until here, it's so for media min width 960, we can use these images. So let's use them, friends. So it is going to be banner dash 960 dot jpeg it's 960 width. Also, I'll do one thing. I'll change it to 1 to begin with and refresh it. And I'll keep it 960. Okay. And now for this, we would be having banner 960 2x. Hopefully it will be clearer this time. And 960 multiplied by 2. So its width is going to be 1920 width, 1920 width. Let's save it. Hopefully it would work. So we can see that we have 1x DPR image here of 960 width. If we go smaller, we have smaller image, but for the 960 size, we have 960 image, right? Since we, again, I'll have to return back. I'll have to open a new one because it's using the cached one. And if I select 900 pixels and yeah, and I select the same. Again, this is something you will have to deal with when you're working with images because browsers tend to cache it. I'm not sure if you Google it, you might find out a way where browser does not cache images. That would be very nice for our development. So now you can see that you have this 600 by 300 pixel image here right now. If you go to 960 here, you have 1 DPR image here. And if you change the DPR to 2 and then refresh it in the exact same, then you will see that now we have a different image. The 2x image is being loaded. So what happened last time is I expanded it a lot, and the browser decided for us that for this wide window, maybe, the 2x, since we have access to 2x image, why not use them? Are you getting what I'm saying? So to summarize, friends, again, it's not that hard as it looks. It's pretty straightforward. I'll just walk you through the code really quickly, and it will make more sense to you once you practice it with all the designs and the images that I've already provided to you. So we have this nice image tag. Depending on the pixel width of the screen, we are telling it, you have different images, and now you decide which would be the best image for us. So for a device which is smaller than 600 pixels, there is no sense in downloading a 1400 pixel wide image, right? So for them, 600 by 600 image would be good enough, right? So browser will take that decision on our behalf. All this magic happens with this srcset attribute inside of image. So image tag, srcset attribute. And friends, you can fine tune it using the sizes attributes. So you can tell it for minimum width 1000 pixel. That means for anything more than 1000 pixel wide, use only this wide image. So basically we're telling browser that, use only 1000 pixel. Use the image that you would be using, when you are here, right? In the 1000 pixel wide device. Picture tag takes it one step further. It takes responsiveness to a different level altogether. It's used a lot in the industry, let me tell you, friends. So picture tag takes in a lot of sources. It can also be a source, but it's a practice to keep image as a fallback. So where this and this does not match, this will be kind of a fallback. So for anything above 640 pixels, we are asking browser to load this particular image. And here if you see, for anything above, any device above 960 pixels, we are letting browser decide either to download this image or this image, whichever is the best for user experience, right? And the browsers are smart enough to know that if the user has a retina display, if it has a 2x display, if it has a 3x display, if it has a 1x display, right? And it loads the image that is best for the user experience. Now, again, one thing to remember here is that we don't micromanage too much here. We don't tell browser specifically do this, do that. No. We are giving browser options. We are telling browsers the expected width of the image. And then browser takes the call. Then browser decides which is best to render. So friends, again, as I started, using images is much more than just using the source attribute and the alt attribute. In the real industry, when you'll be working with images, you'll be dealing with source set a lot. You'll be dealing with pictures a lot. So it makes sense to get very comfortable with it. Second thing, browser tends to cache it. So the largest of the image, it will cache, right? So it becomes very hard to debug. Again, when I was learning to do all of these things, it took me a lot of time to figure things out. So, what we do is the one of the ways with which I tend to do all of these testing is, first of all, toggle the device toolbar using this particular icon here. Then select responsive image. Click on three dots here in the right hand side, and then add device pixel ratio. So you will have this DPR. Select it to 1. Start from here. Start playing around from here, and gradually then you can try out with a retina display or a 4x display, whatever you would like to, right? But this developer tool here is super useful in developing and testing these. At the same time, it's not very intuitive. It's slightly confusing. It may take a bit of time to get familiar with it, but it's totally worth the effort because images are something that you will deal with all the time. Okay, so yeah, happy learning. I wish you found it useful.